Let me tell you a story that might make you laugh, sigh, and maybe, just maybe, reflect on your own expectations in life and love. It's the story of Frank, 65 years old, a retired electrician with silver hair, a love for classic cars, and a heart still curious about love, even after all the heartbreak. Frank hadn't dated in years. After his wife passed a decade ago, he buried himself in work and solitude. He wasn't looking, until one of his old bowling buddies insisted he try something new. A blind date. Come on, Frank. Life's short. You've still got some good dancing left in those old bones. So, reluctantly, Frank agreed. Just dinner. Just conversation. Nothing serious. Enter Linda, 52, striking, confident, and unapologetically bold. She walked into that cafe like she owned the room, sat down across from Frank with a warm smile and said, "Before we go any further, I need to be honest with you." What followed were 4 demands that shook Frank to the core, not because they were unreasonable, but because they revealed a depth of expectation he hadn't prepared for. This wasn't just dinner. This was a test. And by the end of the evening, Frank would be running. Not from Linda, but from the part of himself that wasn't ready to be seen so clearly. What were those 4 demands? And why did they send a kind-hearted, seasoned man sprinting back into solitude? Let's walk through that unforgettable evening and the powerful life lesson hidden beneath it all. The reluctant return to dating. Frank's house was quiet. Too quiet. The kind of silence that echoes through the walls and gets louder every year after someone you love is gone. He had his routines. His coffee at sunrise. His walks around the neighborhood. Weekly poker night. Occasional babysitting for the grandkids. But love? That was a book he had closed. So when his buddy Ralph suggested a blind date, Frank laughed so hard he nearly spilled his scotch. But Ralph was persistent. "You're still sharp, Frank. You've still got warmth in those eyes. Don't let the good years go to waste." Eventually, curiosity won. He agreed to one dinner. Just one. He put on his best flannel shirt, combed his hair, and arrived 5 minutes early to that little Italian cafe on 4th and Main. She walked in like a breeze, elegant, tall, poised. Linda was 52, recently divorced, with a quiet strength and a presence that filled the space around her. Frank stood to greet her, and as they shook hands, he noticed her firm grip. She smiled and said, "Let's skip the small talk. Life's too short." And then, over garlic bread and sweet tea, she laid out her cards. "I've been on enough dates to know what I want, and more importantly, what I won't tolerate. So I'm going to tell you 4 things up front. If any of them are deal breakers, that's okay. We'll finish dinner as friends and part ways." Frank nodded, intrigued, a little caught off guard. But he appreciated the honesty. He had no idea what was coming next. Linda leaned in slightly. "My first requirement is this. I need a man who's emotionally available. Someone who doesn't flinch at feelings. Who doesn't shut down when things get hard." Frank's smile tightened. She continued, "I was married to a man who would rather fix a leaky pipe than talk about how he felt. For 20 years, I was lonely, even with someone lying next to me every night." She looked Frank dead in the eye. "If you're not ready to talk openly, to cry if you need to share the dark parts as well as the light, this won't work." Frank swallowed hard. That one hit too close to home. He hadn't cried in over a decade. When his wife died, he went into a shell, buried the pain, told himself to man up. He wasn't sure he could open up again, and the very idea made him squirm. Linda watched him, saw the hesitation in his eyes. "That's one," she said gently with a sad smile. "Let's see if you can handle the next." Frank had always imagined that love at his age would be quieter. Walks in the park. Sunday crossword puzzles. Maybe watching a little Jeopardy before bed. But Linda had fire in her voice. I want passion, she said. And I don't mean just in the bedroom. I want someone who still believes in kissing deeply, holding hands in public, stealing glances across the room. She looked him dead in the eye. If I'm going to share my life with someone, I want to feel alive doing it. I want butterflies, even at 70. Frank's heart skipped. Butterflies? He hadn't felt that in years. Not even when he imagined dating again. Linda leaned back, studying him. Can you offer that, Frank? Can you be present? Not just as a companion, but as a lover, a romantic? Frank coughed, unsure what to say. She was asking for something he wasn't sure still existed in him. That reckless kind of love, that boldness, scared him, because what if he didn't measure up? I need to be honest about something else, she said, folding her napkin. I spent the last 5 years of my marriage taking care of a man who gave up on himself. Frank blinked. Linda wasn't mincing words. He stopped exercising, ate junk every day, lived on medications, wouldn't even walk around the block. And when the doctors said he had 6 months to live, he just shrugged. She paused. I loved him, but I became his nurse. And I lost myself. Her eyes narrowed, though not unkindly. If you're not willing to take care of yourself, Frank, physically, mentally, emotionally, I can't do this. I won't sign up for a slow decline. Frank glanced down at the pasta on his plate. His belly had gotten rounder these past few years. His knees creaked. His doctor warned him about his blood pressure. He meant to change. He really did. But it was easier to do nothing, to coast. Linda's third demand was a mirror, and Frank wasn't sure he liked what he saw. Her final words were perhaps the most surprising of all. I don't want to be someone's everything, she said. I want us both to have lives, to travel, to grow, to try new things. I want to live, Frank, not just exist beside someone in a recliner. She smiled wistfully. Too many people think that once you find love again in your 50s or 60s, you just settle into a quiet life. But I want to dream. I want to dance. I want to do things that scare me. She reached across the table and gently touched his hand. I want someone who's brave enough to build a new life, not just replay an old one. Frank felt his chest tighten. He had always imagined his later years as slow and simple. But Linda wanted adventure. She wanted purpose. And she was asking him, without saying the words, are you still dreaming, Frank? Or are you just waiting to die? That question cut deep. When the check came, Frank insisted on paying. They walked outside into the evening breeze. Linda gave him a soft hug and said, You're a kind man, Frank, and I'm glad we met. But I don't think we're quite looking for the same thing. Frank nodded, his throat tight. He got into his car and drove in silence, the echo of her words following him home. Was she unreasonable? No. Was she demanding? Not exactly. She was clear. And that clarity was more terrifying than any argument or flaw, because it forced Frank to face the truth. He wasn't ready. Not for love. Not for passion. Not for real partnership. He still had work to do. Sometimes the people we meet are not meant to stay, but to wake us up. Linda wasn't harsh. She was honest. She wasn't judging Frank. She was inviting him to rise, to feel again, to move again, to live again. Frank didn't run because she was too much. He ran because he wasn't yet enough, not in the way she needed, and not in the way he knew he could be. And in that way, Linda gave him a gift. Not a second date, but a second chance. So what do you think? Was Linda right to set those expectations? Was Frank right to walk away? Or was this one of those rare, bittersweet encounters that leaves you better than it found you? If you're over 50 or 60 or even 70, you're not too old for love. But you are old enough to know what it takes to make it real. And maybe that's the bravest part of all. Being willing to look someone in the eye and say, "This is what I need. Can you meet me there?" If you enjoyed the story, make sure to like, subscribe, and share it with someone who still believes in second chances and love that doesn't settle. And remember, even the dates that don't work out might just lead you back to yourself. Thanks for watching.